Can Pat Cummins, Australia, complete the treble? Welcome to the shiny side. I'm your host, Faris, and we have with us Umair Qazi kicking things off for the World Cup. Umair, how's it going?
All well, Faris, all well. By the way, it's not Pat Cummins, it's Mitch Marsh who's captaining
That's
them.
true, actually. That is very true. We started off with a blooper, but I'm going to keep this one in. But you're right. That's the thing, right? That's just the kind of, I guess,
Yeah,
leader Pat Cummins is across format that you feel like
yeah,
he's
true,
uh,
true.
he's he's the
I
he's the
mean,
real leader in there.
he just captained Sunrisers to the
Yeah.
final of the IPL as
Yeah.
well. So yeah, I mean, he's
And
had a
it's kind of
tremendous
takes me
year.
back to the time when Wasim Akram used to be in Pakistan teams. He wouldn't be captain, but he was
Yeah,
still the leader
yeah,
on the
yes,
pitch.
absolutely,
But to
absolutely.
kick things off, Umair, is this are you all set for the World Cup?
Yes, all set, all set. I think the World Cup starts on Sunday, and
Yeah,
I'm there from Saturday next week. So yeah, looking
nice,
forward to it.
awesome. So looking at Australia, right? Let's get down to it. Australia, of course, they didn't make it to the semi in the last World Cup. They only lost one game, though, and the one game was rained out. They won the previous one in the UAE, which we saw together. Um, and they're, of course, coming back off an ODI World Cup when they're also the current Test champion. So when I speak of the treble, this is a very football term, but they will be the first team to win the Test championship, the ODI World Cup, and the T20 World Cup all at the same time. So it's not a thing
Yeah,
in cricket as such, but I feel like if they
yeah,
make
sure.
it, then it'll definitely be something that people will speak about.
Yeah, that's true, very true. So when England won the T20 World Cup last year,
I mean, they were never
they
World Test
became,
champions. I mean, right? So they had both the
yeah,
ODI.
yeah, no, but they still became the first team to hold both
Yeah,
white ball trophies at the same time,
yeah. So Australia
right?
can up them if they actually win this one.
Yeah, that's true.
But
Okay.
I'm
And
going to put
in
up
the
the
middle of them, yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm going to put the squad up right now. If I just quickly look at the squad here, um, the batting at the outset might look a bit light, right? But with Head Warner, but I think it's the all rounders list which really shows you the strength of Australia. You have guys like
I mean,
Marsh,
they're all
Maxwell,
batsmen.
Green, Stoinis, all of whom are batsmen in their own right for
They're
sure,
all
and they can
batsmen.
bowl.
They're more batsmen than bowlers any day.
Definitely, all of them are. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying, and they could easily walk into the side as batsmen only. Also,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
And so I think they look incredibly strong. Uh, and the bowling is pretty much the same guys you've been seeing for years and years, right? But I almost feel like, I'm not sure if you agree, but it almost feels like typically when you come into a T20 tournament, it feels like, you know what, this isn't Australia's best format. But I think given what we've seen from them lately, I feel like right now they may be coming in as favorites for me. I know that should
Look,
have been the end of the show, but I don't
I
know how you feel.
yeah, I think they are the strongest team in the tournament, hands down. Look at that squad. You don't have a single person who goes out there to consolidate.
Yeah,
Forget about that anchor role. There is
yeah.
no one. They're all. I mean, they look solid. They look totally solid, and I think they're definitely the favorites.
And I think one thing which is typically a weakness for Australia, or not, could be, and we spoke about this in the ODI World Cup, didn't play out that way, is there was no backup spinner to Zampa as such. But Maxwell, of course, filled in really well as second spinner.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
they this time they actually have Ashton Agar in the side, so that probably suggests they
yeah,
expect the ball to the pitch this perhaps to have the spinners, and that's why they feel like he's a
right.
good addition.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, there was also some talk a couple of weeks ago about how perhaps Nathan Ellis, you could consider starting him ahead of Stark given his recent form. But I think after what Stark did in the IPL playoffs, I mean, if there was any doubt, I don't think that's going to
no,
happen.
and Stark is another level, bro. The way he got Travis Head twice in the IPL, just unbelievable, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's no comparison to Stark. He's
yeah.
probably the best
Even
bowler out
yeah,
there.
and so I guess we look at the notable absentees, if anyone, right? So there's Steve Smith, which is a very tactical decision. They don't need somebody to anchor the innings, right? So I think
Yeah,
that's fair enough. I think one
yeah.
guy
I mean,
who's I in the IPL has completely turned the IPL on its head. I thought is just Jason Frasier McGurk guy. I think he looks incredible. He scored something like I think he was averaging something like 60 at a strike rate of 170. So incredible IPL record. And I watched a few of his knocks. He completely all guns blazing would come in and take it on. So I personally was very surprised that he wasn't in the 15, and I still feel
yeah,
like somehow someone's going to get injured and he's going to still make it. He's a traveling reserve, by the way.
yeah, yeah.
What do
Okay.
you make of
Uh,
him and his omission?
Look, I didn't see him bat in the IPL. I've heard about him, yes, and but yeah, I mean, look, Australia have a number of talented batsmen who are, he's not the only one, but I'm sure he's probably the best out in the reserves. But look, what Australia have got in their 15 is, I mean, look at that. I mean, you've got Warner, you've got Head, you've got Inglis, you've got Wade, you've got Marsh, Maxwell. I mean, who else do you need?
Yeah.
Tim David, sab to hai.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. I mean, like I said, I think it actually looks like a stronger squad than the one, much
And
stronger the
it's
squad from compared to what they
firepower.
won. Yeah.
Total firepower. Yeah,
So if
absolutely.
you had to pick two key players for you who you think will stand out for Australia, I'm putting the squad up again. Who would those be?
Travis Head and Mitchell Stark.
Okay. And who do you think would be the buzzkill, or who do you think would be the disappointment of this 15?
Yeah, like maybe Green or Maxwell, one of them.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I will go with, for me, Travis Head for sure. And I would go with Mitch Marsh. I think he's captain, like you pointed out. He's captain. I just think at the top of the order, he's brilliant to watch. So those would be my two guys. I think the one who would disappoint would possibly be Tim David. I feel like at the moment, he has a lot more, like he's a sure shot in the 11. They see him as the guy at 6 or 7, but I feel like he may not come off so much in the West Indies, where the ball may not come onto the bat. But again, there's something to be wait and see. And I guess other stuff, Mitch Marsh is a very new captain. Like he's barely captained in any format, as far as I understand. How much of a factor do you think that will be in this tournament? In fact, he's captain so less. Sorry that I forgot he was captain for this series, as you saw.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I don't know why they chose to make him captain when Cummins was in the squad. If Cummins was resting, I'd get it. But maybe Cummins wanted a break, given he was captaining tests and ODIs and the IPL as well. But the fact that he captained in the IPL is just natural, that you just come and captain your international team as well, right? So I'm not sure what the reason was behind the decision. But maybe they're looking at the future, but I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I don't think with Australia, given that, they seem like a very united team. If you've seen the latest season of the Test on Prime, that there's a leadership group, the senior players. So it seems like it's a very happy squad who do a lot of things collectively, and it's not necessarily an autocratic leader, So something that doesn't work in India or Pakistan, but with Australia, I think it works great.
Yeah, so I guess
I don't think it'll affect them that much.
It will definitely be something to watch out for, right? Because I think the second, if something goes wrong, people will start talking about that for sure.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, the way the cultures are different. When Marsh was appointed captain, and he was being interviewed, he said, "I can't wait for the chance to boss Cummins around in the field." This is what he said, right? Can you imagine Shaheen saying that about Babar or
Rohit saying that about Kohli for that matter?
Mano, हमारा media तो पागल हो जाएगा.
It would news headlines everywhere.
Right? So, I mean, it's just culturally different. Yeah.
It's a good point. If you quickly look at their fixtures, by the way, Australia. So again, this is only the first round. They start off on the 6th of June in I was going to say in Oman, because Oman just sounds wrong in a cricket discussion, but they play Oman in Bridgetown. So again, Australia is one of the groups that actually start in the West Indies. So they go straight to Barbados. They play Oman on the 6th, and then they follow up with England.
I think they're in the West Indies throughout, right? They don't have anything.
Yeah. So this group basically is going to be in the West Indies throughout. So then they play England and Bridgetown. That's probably the big game. And if Australia can, I guess, win the first two, then they pretty much qualification is kind of, I guess, sorted for them. And then they play Namibia, by the way, who is, again, this is, of course, a team which a lot of us in Pakistan know because of, what's the guy's name? I forget his name.
David Visa.
David Visa, Lahore Qalandar's David, very own. And then they play Scotland, who perhaps is one of the stronger associates, if you look at the recent side. So, I mean, you'd expect England and Australia to kind of make it fairly comfortably. I expect an upset or two in this tournament, but I don't think this is the group we're going to see that. But how do you look at the schedule?
Very easy, very, very easy for them. I mean, even if they lose to England, it's fine.
Yeah.
I think England and Australia have it really easy, which I don't know. I mean, it's very easy for them. They're the two favorites. Australia and England are probably the two favorites, and they've got pretty much the weakest associates, I'd say.
And also, right, they have their venues are a bit more chill compared to all the hype coming out of New York. They don't have to travel around so much from New York, like India and Pakistan going to Dallas and so on and so forth. So the schedule
Dallas, New York, Miami, they're all over the place.
Yeah, so they'll be racking up the miles. So it looks like a pretty chill schedule for Australia. If you look at the likely 11s right now, I normally what I would do is I would get your 11 and put it up on the board. This time around, I'm putting up my 11. And I would love you to tell me what you would do differently. So the 11, I think I would go with. I think Warner, Head, Marsh kind of select themselves. Then there's Maxwell, Stoinis. I've got English / Wade. I'm tempted to. So generally, I think they prefer English these days. But I feel like if the keeper is batting at 6, I think Wade fits better in that structure, as we saw in Dubai a couple of years ago. And then I would have, I guess, David at 6, and then Cummins, Stark, Hazelwood, Zampa is like any other format they play. So how would you see the 11? The guys I've left out, by the way, are it's Nathan
Green.
Ellis, Ashton Agar, Cam Green, and one of the wicketkeepers. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think this is what they'll go with. I wouldn't make any change. Um maybe they play Cam Green instead of David in a game or two. I don't know. But yeah, this 11 looks solid actually. I think the four bowlers, I think that is what they'll start with. They'll probably play them throughout. And maybe Ellis gets a game here and there against Namibia or Scotland, just to get some match practice. But yeah, I think the top five will be this. English, Wade, they'll probably go with Wade, I feel. Um, but yeah, the only change, maybe it could be Green coming in for David, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Green generally tends to bat in the top 4, I guess, at least when he's typically playing off of the franchises. So I don't know if they'll put him down
Yeah.
there. But also, Green had a pretty disappointing IPL, if that's going to be a factor here. And I think he hasn't really necessarily been part of the mix for Australia recently.
Yeah.
But again, right,
Yeah.
like he just offers you too much incredible fielder
Yeah.
for that matter for them to
Yeah,
leave him out for
that's
too
true.
long, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I guess the 11. I think one more thing to keep in mind with Australia, by the way, is that it seems like the venues so there are some venues in England, sorry, in the West Indies, which take a lot of spin or are perhaps slower and the scores are lower. They played at none of those in the first round. They're not playing in Antigua, they're not playing in Guyana. So I feel like it'll essentially be tracks which England and Australia would love, both of them would love. And they will probably be able to, I guess, take on the minnows, if I can call them that, very, very easily. I guess before we wrap up, by the way, those of you watching, if you have a view on what do you think their 11 should be and where do you think they'll finish, then please leave a comment. But Umair, before we wrap up, what's your prediction for Australia?
Final.
So you'll be watching them in the final in Barbados?
In Barbados. It looks like it.
Yeah, look, I think it's hard to, I guess one thing to keep in mind in this World Cup is the way the groups are set up. For example, Pakistan can't possibly play Australia before the semis or final. So, Australia qualifying means that they go out through this group and then potentially two of them, India, New Zealand, and who's the fourth team going there?
Australia. It could be either Sri Lanka or Afghanistan.
Yeah, so not Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh actually. Afghanistan's on the other side of the draw.
Are they? Okay,
well,
yeah,
it depends.
they could be.
So it depends. If Afghanistan make it there, that means New Zealand hasn't made it. So assuming New Zealand makes it, then it'll be New Zealand, Australia, India, and Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka
I think
or Bangladesh,
that's probably the tougher side half of the draw, if you ask me. So I think for Australia
look, because if you're ruling out one of India, Australia, New Zealand, then for sure it is the tougher group. Yeah.
We're talking about the semi-final. I know a different format, but we're talking about semi-finalists of the ODI World Cup. We're also talking about other than Australia, the other two were semi-finalists of the last T20 World Cup as well, right? So yeah, I think it'll be. I think this will be an interesting twist on how things turn out in terms of who you can't have Australia, India, and New Zealand all in the semi-final. So okay, yeah, I guess I would go with that as well. They should be in the final. And yeah, that's about it. So we'll be back with a few more previews very soon in the next couple of days. And of course, once the World Cup kicks in, we'll be coming in a few days of the week. We may have Umair join in once in a while from across the pond in the US, but we'll keep you updated on that. Thank you for being on the show, Umair.
All right, thank you, Faris.
And for those of you watching, please stay tuned to the shiny side.